How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Baseball Banter podcast, Baseball Eve podcast edition of the show. Day before opening day, we've got a busy, stacked, loaded show today. We're going to get right into it and get started with episode 15. This is episode 15 and 16 of the Baseball Banter podcast. We're going to start with episode 15. And the first order of business is going over my 5 breakout players, part 1. And my number 5 breakout player for 2025, you're going to get 10 total. This is the first batch. And the next episode, after this one, is going to be the next 5. My 5th breakout candidate for 2025 is Taj Bradley of the Tampa Bay Rays. And the reason he's a breakout candidate for me, we saw what Taj did last year with the Rays. He had a really good season for the Rays. He's going to have to step up even bigger this year. Because if you didn't hear the news to start the season, and I'll get into it when we get into episode 16 later on, but Shane McClanahan's going to miss a big chunk of time with injury. And so Taj Bradley's going to have to step up. Ryan Pepe is going to have to step up. Zach Littell, Shane Baz. And I believe Taj Bradley can have a breakout this year for the Rays. I really do. My number 4 breakout candidate is White Sox starting pitcher Sean Burke. Now, we saw what Sean Burke did last year in a small sample size in the big leagues. Can he do the same thing this year? I believe he actually can. I believe he can. And he's going to need to step up for the White Sox because they've lost 6 pitchers to Tommy John surgery. Kai Bush, Drew Thorpe, Mason Adams, Brendan Larson. I know I just named 4 right there. There's 2 more guys. So it's really going to be up to Sean Burke and maybe a guy you'll hear me talk about later in Noah Schultz. My number 3 breakout candidate for the 2025 MLB season is Cardinals outfielder Victor Scott Jr., who had a very impressive spring training, hitting well over 300 in the spring. He got named the opening day center fielder for the Cardinals. And he will be getting a lot of looks in center field for the Cardinals this year. And if you haven't seen any of his spring training tape, highly recommend looking it up and watching some of his spring training tape. And my number 2 breakout candidate for 2025 is a guy by the name of, and this is Billy Wagner's son, Will. He's going to be playing a lot of third base this year for the Blue Jays. And I don't know what it is, but Will Wagner to me just seems like a guy that can hit the baseball and is somebody that is amazing. My number 1 breakout candidate in this batch of breakouts is Marlins. And this is going to sound ugly because the Marlins don't really have anybody. I was going to put Connor Norby on here, but Connor Norby's out for the first part of the season, first month or 2 of the season. So it's going to be first baseman Matt Mervis, former Cubs prospect. And I can see the Cubs, the Marlins, he's going to get a lot of ABs. And I can see him hitting 20 to 25 home runs and driving in like between 50 to 60 RBIs. So that's the first batch of breakout candidates. Now we get to my official division winner predictions and records for 2025. And we start in the National League East. And we're going to go from bottom of the division to top of the division. So we're going to start in the NL East. And in last place, unfortunately, it's going to be another tough year for the Marlins. I just talked about with Matt Mervis being the breakout candidate, how they really don't have. I can maybe name you 3 or 4 guys on their team. Ryan Weathers, Sandy Alcantara, Jonah Bride, Connor Norby. That's it. That's the only guys I could name, and maybe a Calvin Fauché. But that's it. I have the Marlins going 61 and 105. Now, you're welcome to put your thoughts and opinions in the comment section of this video. And it's highly recommended that you do that, because I enjoy the feedback that I get from the fans of the podcast. But, and the other thing with the Marlins is that they have some interesting prospects that didn't make the opening day roster, in Agustin Ramirez and Davison De Los Santos, which I think both of them will be up at some point this year after the Marlins decide to trade off more pieces. Finishing in 4th place in the NL East is the Washington Nationals, going 89. Yes, I think they win over 80 games this year. I like their young core. 89 and 74. And I know what people are going to say. Yeah, you can see them winning over 80 games, but are some of the guys going to live up to the hype? Like a James Wood, a Dylan Cruz. I'm going to say yes. The one guy I'm skeptical about on the Nationals is a guy by the name of CJ Abrams, because we saw last year what happened when he ended up getting in trouble for gambling, how it wrecked his season, and he ended up not playing anymore after that last season. Could he stay out of that gambling trouble this year? If he can, he's going to have a huge season for the Nationals. Finishing in 3rd place in the NL East, I have the Philadelphia Phillies, going 96 and 74. Yes, Nationals fans, you're still going to make the playoffs, but it's not going to be as the division champions of the NL East. And the Mets. Oh, wait, I don't want to spoil that. The reason I have the Phillies finishing in 3rd is due to the fact that I don't think they are going to stay healthy the entire season. That's the issue. Finishing in 2nd in the NL East, I have the Atlanta Braves going 97 and 62. And here is the reason I don't have them finishing first. When are you going to get Acuna back? When are you going to get Strider back? If you get it back early in the season, there's a chance that you could compete with the Mets for the division, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Speaking of the Mets, finishing in first place, winning the NL East, I have the New York Mets going 160. Yes, I think the Mets win 100 games. I know how delusional that might sound, but I think they do win 100 games. Juan Soto. Clay Holmes looked like a completely different player in the spring as a starting pitcher compared to last year. And we now go to the NL Central, and finishing in last in the NL Central, unfortunately, I have the St. Louis Cardinals going 77-101. The Cardinals have a bunch of assets they can move at the deadline, including Eric Fetty, Steven Matz, Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar, Alec Burleson if they wanted to, Wilson Contreras. That is why I have them finishing at the bottom of the NL Central. Unfortunately, finishing right behind them in fourth with 83 wins and 78 losses is the Milwaukee Brewers. And the reason I have the Brewers finishing in fourth and not higher is, and Brewers fans, I know what you're going to say. You're doubting us. Maybe I am. And I will take ownership for that, because I could be wrong. But the Brewers have some questions. Like, who's going to be your everyday third baseman? When's Brandon Woodruff going to be back? Who's your closer? Is it Yoel Payamps? Is it Trevor McGill? Is it Abner Uribe? Who is your closer? Finishing third in the NL Central, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates. And again, when I get to my news and notes, I will talk about Jerry Jones because we do have an update on him. But the Pirates are going to go 88-74 this year. I believe in that top three of of Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, and when he comes back, Jared Jones. And then at some point this year, they're going to call up Bubba Chandler. They're going to call up Thomas Harrington. And I just see endless routes for the Pirates. They might not make the playoffs this year, but they will have a good year. Finishing second in the NL Central, going 94-77, is the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs did make two big moves in the offseason, trading for Ryan Presley and trading for Kyle Tucker. They were in on Bregman, which I was I'm not going to say surprised, but I was shocked they were, seeing as Matt Shaw is now on the opening day roster. But winning the NL Central, going 97-71, I have the Cincinnati Reds. I like what the Reds did this offseason. They had the opportunity to go out and try to trade for Luis Robert. They didn't do that. They did trade for a guy like Brady Singer to bolster their rotation. And they still have the prospects that they could easily go out and trade for maybe a Dylan Cease, maybe a Sandy Alcantara, maybe somebody like that if they want to. Or they can still go out, and if Luis Roberts having a good season with the White Sox, they could trade for him. And I also like the hiring they made at manager in the offseason. It's Harry Francona. I like Tito getting back into being a manager, and I think that Tito Francona will lead the Reds to the division title in the NL Central. Now we get to the NL West. Finishing last in the NL West, shockingly, is the San Francisco Giants going 78 and 98. Yes, I know they signed Willie Adames, but are you going to, and Justin Verlander? My thing is, are you going to get a consistently healthy season for 1 year out of Justin Verlander? And what is the rest of your rotation like? You got Logan Webb at the top. You got Robbie Ray. It's Robbie Ray, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Justin Verlander, and then your fifth starter. Oh, and Jordan Hicks, and then your fifth starter is Hayden Birdsong. I mean, I don't mind that rotation, but are you going to get a consistency out of that rotation the entire season? And then is Elliot Ramos going to take another step up in year number 2? What are you going to get from Luis Matos? What are you going to get from your big free agency signing, Willie Adames? I can see easily any of these teams, other than the Dodgers, finishing last in the division. But right now, my prediction is that the Giants finish last. Finishing fourth is the Colorado Rockies. Rockies fans, hear me out. You're going 83 and 77, which is a big improvement from the last 2 years. And there's a reason that I do these air quotes. You've got 2 prospects that I think will be up at some point this year. One being Zach Veen, who should have been on the opening day roster. How are you going to tell me a guy that hits over 300 doesn't make the opening day roster and gets optioned back to AAA over a journeyman outfielder and Nick Martini? That's disgusting. And then Chase Dollander had a good spring, but I can understand why they don't want to rush him to the big leagues. And you do got some. Tyro Estrada is good. You got a hopefully healthy Chris Bryant. You got Cal Quantrill in your rotation. Finishing third in the NL West is the San Diego Padres, going 91 and 88. Padres fans, hear me out. I was debating on to put y'all in last place because I do think that there is a slight chance that y'all do end up finishing in last and you underwhelm a ton and you end up trading off. You end up selling at the deadline and giving up trading Dylan Cease, trading Michael King, trading Luis Ariz, and maybe trading like a Robert Suarez. But then there's also the chance of, like, I have you finishing third. You will see later on who was in the playoffs, and I may have made a mistake with my playoffs. I think I did. But we'll fix that. Anyway, finishing second in the NL West, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers going 98 and 68. Yes, I know what Dodgers fans are going to say. Oh, why do you have us under 100 wins? Why? You have too much talent. And we're already seeing that. Like, Mookie Betts missed the Tokyo series with an illness. Freddie Freeman missed the Tokyo series. And in your rotation, are you going to get a healthy year out of Blake Snell, a healthy year out of Tyler Glasnow, healthy year out of a guy like Dustin May, who's coming off Tommy John surgery? If that's the case, then yes, I could see you winning more than 100 games. But, and I don't wish injuries upon anybody, but I could also see you winning less than 100 games. And winning the NL West with 100 wins and 74 losses is the Arizona Diamondbacks. I absolutely love the signing of Corbin Burnes. That is the big ticket signing the Diamondbacks made in the offseason. And now we are going to switch over to the American League. And we're going to start with the American League East. And in last place in the American League East, going 77 and 99, I have the Toronto Blue Jays. And the big reason is, what are they going to do with Vladdy? And what are they going to do with Bo Bichette? Are they going to trade them? If they're in last place and not competitive at all, I believe they will trade one or both guys with the intention of, obviously, Vladdy goes to free agency and they could re-sign him in free agency. And what are you going to get from like a 30-plus year old in Max Scherzer? Are you going to get a good year out of Scherzer? Or is it going to be, he's hurt. Like, he was already hurt. He's got a thumb issue. But it sounds like he's going to be ready for opening day. Finishing fourth in the American League East, I regrettably have the New York Yankees going 89 and 74. And Yankees fans, you can let me know that I am just downright crazy, but I don't see the Yankees having a good year. No Garrett Cole the entire year. Luis Gil's out. Clark Schmidt's out. Ian Hamilton's out. Giancarlo Stanton's out. That's 4 guys. You're relying on a 39-year-old Carlos Carrasco. You're relying on Marcus Stroman, who just a month ago wanted to be traded. How in the world can you trust Marcus Stroman to not say, I want to be traded again once you get a guy like Clark Schmidt back? Finishing third in the AL East, I have the Baltimore Orioles going 90 and 83. Orioles fans, the one reason I don't have you finishing in front of the Rays is Gunnar Henderson's going to be out a little bit. Felix Bautista is working he's on the opening day roster. He's your closer, but he's also coming back from Tommy John surgery. And then you got a guy in Grayson Rodriguez who's already injured. That leads me to the Rays. Finishing in second place with a record of 92 and 80 is the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Rays, yes, the one big fish that's out right now is Shane McClanahan. But I think the Rays can survive. And winning the AL East, going 198 and 71 is the Boston Red Sox. They made 2 huge additions in the offseason. Trading for Garrett Crochet and signing Alex Bregman to play third base. And I like both of those moves for the Red Sox. But I don't think they're done. That's the thing. I don't think they are finished. I really don't. I still think there's an avenue where they make another trade. Maybe a Luis Castillo. Maybe a Dylan Cease. Maybe a Michael King. Maybe they don't make a trade until closer to the deadline. And we are going to pause from the standings and give you the playoffs. And we will pick back up with the standings in the AL Central and the AL West. But here are my playoff predictions. In the American League, the 2 wildcard teams, it's going to be the 6th seed, the Athletics, against the 3 seed Tampa Bay Rays. And I think the Rays sweep that series. Then you got 4 against 5, Kansas City Royals against the Cleveland Guardians. The Royals sweep the Guardians. So that makes the AL Division Series Red Sox, Rays, and Royals and Tigers. And the Rays win in 5 against the Red Sox. And the Royals the Tigers take down the Royals in 5 games to set up an ALCS of Tampa Bay and Detroit. And the Tigers won in 7 to go to the World Series. Now we get over to the National League side. My awards will be after my top 5 trades. But, so we get to the NL. It's going to be the 6th seed Dodgers. Yes, the Dodgers do make the playoffs. Against the 3 seed Atlanta Braves. And the Braves sweep the Dodgers. The Braves finally get over their kryptonite of the Dodgers, and they beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. And then the 4 seed is the Mets and the wild card against the Diamondbacks. So 2 division winners, and the Diamondbacks sweep the Mets to set up a the Cubs sweep the Mets. And so that sets up the Cubs and the Diamondbacks and the Reds and the Braves in the next round of the playoffs. Which leads to the Reds sweeping the Braves, which I know Braves fans are not going to be happy with. And the Diamondbacks, the Reds won in 7 against Reds sweep the Braves, and the Diamondbacks sweep the Cubs to set up a Diamondbacks and Reds NLCS, and the Reds win in 7. And my World Series pick is the Reds and the Tigers. And the Reds win the World Series in 7 games. And you will get my awards and my top 5 trade thing. Got players that will get traded here in a minute. We have 2 more divisions in the American League to go over. And the first one is the AL Central. And as you heard a minute ago, finishing in last place, I have the Chicago White Sox going a whopping 71-109. White Sox fans, it's going to be another bad year for you, and you're not going to like it. I'm sorry. Had to be said. Had to be done. It's going to be sad. You do, like I said, you do have a lot of promising prospects. And you will hear about a couple of them in my top 15 prospects going into the 2025 season in a little while. Finishing 4th, going 82-80 in the American League Central is the Minnesota Twins. Yes, I have the Twins finishing 4th because I think they are going to slash payroll at some point this year, and that is trading guys like Pablo Lopez, Carlos Correa, maybe Byron Buxton. I don't see a way where the Twins win more than 82 games. Finishing 3rd in the AL Central is the Kansas City Royals, going 91-70 73. Yep, perfect. I like what the Royals did trading for Jonathan India. They do have Cole Reagans, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha. I don't see an avenue where I can see them winning more than 91 games, but they won't win the division. Finishing in second place in the AL Central is the Cleveland Guardians, going 93 and 74. Yes, the Guardians, I know people aren't projecting them to necessarily do good. I see otherwise. I see a breakout year coming from a guy that's not on my breakout list, John Kinsey Noel. And Nolan Jones, who's back with the Guardians, who I will get into later on in news and notes around the MLB. But winning the AL Central, going 98 and 71, is the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers made a couple. They did sign Gleyber Torres in the offseason. I like that move for them. And then they did. Jackson Jobe, their top pitching prospect, did make the team. And now we get to the last division, the AL West. And in last place in the AL West, going 80 and 82, is the Los Angeles Angels. Angels fans, it's going to be another tough year, and I think this might be the year Artie Moreno bites his tongue and pulls the trigger and trades Michael Trout. Yes, I said it. Mike Trout may get traded this year. And I can see a guy like Yusei Kikuchi getting traded at the deadline to Yohan Moncada, maybe Tim Anderson. Finishing fourth in the AL West division is the Seattle Mariners, going 84 and 74. Yes, they did just re-sign their catcher, and I will get into that in a few minutes here on the show. But, and I say this with a big asterisk, what else did they do in the offseason? Nothing. I mean, they brought back Jorge Polanco. They got rid of Ty France. They don't really have a first baseman. And that's the one that I wish they would have put more effort in the offseason to try to sign somebody or trade for somebody to play first base. Finishing third in the AL West, unfortunately, is the Houston Astros. And yes, I think the dynasty's over. I'm projecting them to only win 85 games this year, with 77 losses, of course. They lost Kyle Tucker via trade. They lost Alex Bregman free agency. They lost Justin Verlander to free agency. And they lost their setup man / closer, Ryan Presley, via trade. They did bring in a guy in Cam Smith, who is going to be a part of their opening day roster. And I like that for them. I like that Cam Smith is on the opening day roster. Now, is he going to get enough at bats to be in Rookie of the Year candidate? Possibly. Finishing second in the AL West is the Athletics. Yes, they don't go by Oakland anymore. They are just going. They're just going as Athletics now. 90 and 83 is what I'm projecting them to go. Now, again, like I said earlier, I could be completely wrong with all these teams in the division. Somebody could win the division that I didn't even pick. We'll see. And we'll come back at the end of the season and look at this and see where I was right, where I was wrong. But I do like the A's this year. I think they're a sneaky team to make the playoffs. That's why when you saw my playoffs, I had them making it. Not going far, but getting in. And winning the AL West again, because it's an odd year, is the Texas Rangers going 94-82. And yes, I do like that they're giving Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter an opportunity in the rotation to start the year. Now we get to my top 5 players that will be traded at the trade deadline, before the trade deadline, or maybe next offseason. And number 5 is Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease's name was thrown around in trade talks in the offseason. I think Dylan Cease gets traded to the Yankees. You see the smile on my face / laughing. I think Dylan Cease does get traded. Padres fans, it's unfortunate. Even if you do finish near the top of the division, I do think Dylan Cease gets traded because he could become a free agent next year, I believe. And Dylan Cease goes to the Yankees. Next one, my number 4 guy that's going to get traded this year, Luis Robert. I've been watching all these shows the last 2 days, and they talk about, if Luis Robert has a really good start to the year, is he going to stay a White Sox the entire year? Almost all of them said no, and I would agree. I don't think that he will stay on the White Sox the entire season. I think he does get moved, and I talked about it earlier. The Reds were in on him in the offseason. The only reason the deal fell through was money. They didn't want to take his contract. Now, if they could find a reputable suitor, like one of the bigger market teams, to take on some of Luis Robert's money, will they get Luis Robert to help with their playoff push? I can see Luis Robert to the Reds happening. Number 3, Sandy Alcantara gets traded to the Boston Red Sox. Yeah, that would be juicy. Alcantara, Crochet, Bueller at the top of that rotation. Whew. Well, and I mean, Bueller is coming back from Tommy John, so maybe he gets dealt at the deadline. I don't doubt it, but you're going to tell me you wouldn't take Sandy Alcantara? I mean, you would have to give up a haul to get him. But I don't think the Red Sox would mind giving up some prospects, as long as it's not Roman Anthony or Marcelo Meyer. Maybe they give up lower guys lower in their system, like Nate Hickey, or one of those kind of prospects. Next, my number 2 guy that's going to get traded this trade deadline or in the offseason next year is Framber Valdez. And I think he gets traded to the Cubs. There was rumors picking up steam that Framber Valdez was going to get moved in the offseason. Did it happen? No. Because the teams that wanted him ended up going in a different direction. I do think he gets moved at some point before the trade deadline or at the trade deadline. And if it's not then, it's in the offseason. And unfortunately, we've got to number 1, and it is Bo Bichette of the Blue Jays, shortstop. And he's going to get traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, like the Dodgers need any more help. If they get Bichette, they can move Mookie Betts back to the outfield, which is his natural position. And they would probably give Bichette a long-term contract. Now you get my awards. And my NL Cy Young winner, shockingly, is going to be Paul Skeens. I think Paul Skeens is going to have a huge season for the Pirates this year. And if he does, Pirates might just, like I said earlier, finish in third place with Paul Skeens winning the NL Cy Young. The AL Cy Young, I could have went with the chalk pick in that either being Garrett Crochet or Turek Skubal. I went with somebody a little outside the box, and Royals starting pitcher Cole Ragans. Ragans had a really good second half last year, and I can see him building off of that going into 2025. And I think he wins the AL Cy Young. AL MVP. Oh, NL MVP first. Ellie De La Cruz. I watched a lot of his the Red spring training games. And yes, he did change up his swing. I see a 40-40, a 40-80 season coming from Ellie De La Cruz. Call me crazy. And Ellie's going to win MVP in the National League. AL MVP, Bobby Witt Jr., Kansas City Royals. Bobby Witt was up there for MVP last year. I think he gets it done this year and wins the MVP. My AL and NL Rookie of the Year. First, in the AL, everybody's going to go Christian Campbell. Everybody's going to go with Junior Caminero. And I could have went Junior Caminero, but I decided to go Jackson Jobe, JJ, of the Detroit Tigers. And the reason I went Jackson Jobe and not a Junior Caminero is I think Jackson Jobe's going to show the Tigers that even when Alex Cobb comes back, that they probably have to go to a 6-man rotation if Alex Cobb wants to make starts, because Jackson Jobe is just going to light up the radar gun and strike out guys. And my NL Rookie of the Year is Matt Shaw. I know he's off to a slow start for the Cubs, but I absolutely see Matt Shaw winning Rookie of the Year in the NL. And my AL Manager of the Year is A.J. Hinch of the Detroit Tigers, because he takes the Tigers all the way to the World Series. And same thing with my NL Manager of the Year and Tito Francona of the Reds. He takes the Reds all the way to the World Series and wins the World Series. Okay. Now we get to the first half of my top prospects in baseball. If my top 15 prospect list. Starting with number 15, A's first base prospect, Nick Kurtz. ETA 2025. I believe Nick Kurtz will be up at some point this year for the A's. And you can disagree with me or agree. Before we get to number 14, as you see on the bottom of the screen, here at the Sports Nation YouTube channel, we do offer memberships. Highly recommend that you indulge and purchase a membership, as well as maybe buying some merch, as it helps grow the channel. And also like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future shows. Back to the list, though. Number 14, White Sox left-handed pitching prospect. Oh, and Nick Kurtz is the number 2 prospect in the Athletics organization. Back to Noah Schultz, the number 1 prospect in the White Sox organization. And you'll hear me say more White Sox here going forward in this prospect list. And these prospect lists will get updated every week. So if you don't see a prospect on here this week, you will see them on here the following week. And they will be posted on all of my social medias. My number 13 prospect is Guardians second base prospect Travis Bazzana, the Australian. Good day, Mike. He is the number 1 prospect in the Guardians system. And I believe Bazzana will be up later this season for the Guardians. I apologize for that. My number 12 prospect is the first in the big three for the Red Sox. And that is Roman Anthony. And he is the number 1 prospect in the Boston Red Sox organization. He's an outfielder. Really good spring training. The Red Sox just have a logjam of outfielders up at the big league level right now. And I do believe Roman Anthony will be up at some point this year. My number 11 prospect going into 2025 is left-handed pitching prospect from the Cardinals organization, Quinn Matthews. And Matthews is the number 2 prospect in the Cardinals organization. Kid can throw absolute heat. And I wouldn't doubt that the Cardinals won't have him. They will have him up at some point this year. And the number 10 prospect, to finish out the first half of the prospect list, is Pirates right-handed pitcher Braxton Ashcraft. He's the number 6 prospect in the Pirates organization. That wraps up episode 15 of the show. Now, give me a second, and we will get episode 16 up for you. And we are back for the second half of the show, which is episode number 16 of the Baseball Banter podcast. And we will go over news around the league, bold predictions, part 2, rest of my top prospect list, number 9 through number 1, and my top 5 breakout players for 2025, part number 2. And we are going to start with some news around the league. The Diamondbacks signed Justin Martinez to a 5-year extension. And I like this re-signing for the Diamondbacks. It's not between him and AJ Puck for who's going to be the closer, but their manager, Torey Lovullo, has already came out and said that they will not have a closer. It'll depend on matchups. Then we just had another re-signing later yesterday. And Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh signed a new 6-year extension. And he's getting a hefty pay raise from the Mariners. Now we get to some not so good news. The Royals have placed James McArthur, Alec Marsh, and Kyle Wright all on the injured list with injuries. And as I told you earlier, we would get to Shane McClanahan. He is out indefinitely for the Rays with a nerve irritation in the back of his left elbow, which means he's going to miss a significant amount of time to start the season for the Rays. And as I mentioned earlier, they do have some depth in the starting rotation And that depth is gonna get tested with McClanahan being out. Pepio has been named the replacement opening day starter for the Rays. Now we get to the second half of my bold predictions. I gave you bold predictions earlier last week. Now I'm giving you the rest of my bold predictions. And if you didn't hear earlier, I had the Rays making the wild card series and winning the wild card series. And then I have Spencer Torkelson. Tigers fans are going to like this. Spencer Torkelson returns to 2023 form. Torkelson had a massive spring training, and I believe that he's in for a big season this year. He's gonna platoon and play a lot of first base and outfield, and probably sprinkle in a few games at DH. But I think he's gonna regain his 2023 form. Next, Taj Bradley breaks out for the Rays. Yes, you heard me say it earlier. Taj Bradley, and I'm talking about it again, he's going to have a breakout 2025 season. Next, Dylan Cease gets traded at either the trade deadline or in the offseason. And my last bold prediction is that I know I had them finishing fourth, but this could still happen. Bud Black gets fired. Now we get to we get to the rest of the prospect list, which is, we start at number 9, and it's going to be Rays shortstop prospect Carson Williams. The number 1 prospect in the Rays organization. He struggled in the spring. He might come up this year, or they might wait till 2026 to bring him up to the big leagues. He might get a little sample size in like September this year if the Rays are out of it, which, like I said earlier, I don't think they will be. But he could be a key contributor in the playoffs. My number 8 prospect. Here is the second of the big 3. It is Red Sox shortstop, second baseman, outfielder Christian Campbell. He's the number 2 prospect in the Red Sox organization. And he has also made the opening day roster for the Boston Red Sox. So you might not see him on this list for very much longer, because he has made their opening day roster. And he's probably my threshold for a guy after he makes the opening day roster to be taken off my prospect list. I'm letting you know right now, is 20 games. If Christian Campbell plays more than 20 games, he will not be a part of the next prospect list, which comes out every 2 weeks. The number 7 prospect is White Sox. On my list is the White Sox shortstop, Colson Montgomery. White Sox prospect shortstop, Colson Montgomery. The number 4 prospect in the White Sox organization. He will be up this year. I thought he was going to make the opening day roster, but he missed time with injury, so we all know how that goes. If you miss time with injury, there's a good chance you're not going to make the opening day roster. Unless you're a guy that's a veteran and already has big league experience. Sorry if I'm fixing my hair a lot. It keeps falling. But the number 6 prospect on my prospect list going into 2025 is third base prospect for the Nationals, Brady House. And Brady House is the number 2 prospect in the Nationals system. He had a really good spring. I think Brady House is probably, out of all these prospects, other than maybe a guy I'm going to talk about in a little bit, Marcelo Meyer, I think Brady House will be the first prospect on my list this year to get promoted to the big leagues. And I think it's going to be quite quick. If Brady House rakes in the first couple weeks in AAA, I think he gets called up. My number 5 prospect going into the 2025 season is Brewers right-handed pitcher, Jacob Mazurowski. He had an opportunity to make the opening day roster, but he missed the final cut. And he's the number 3 prospect in the Brewers organization. My number 4 prospect on my list is Red Sox shortstop prospect Marcelo Meyer, who is also the number 3 prospect in the Red Sox organization. And Meyer was somebody that was competing with Christian Campbell, who I talked about earlier on this prospect list, to make the opening day roster. Meyer lost that battle, but we'll see how long he's down at AAA, because we all know the injury history of a guy like Trevor Story, and we know how he can't stay healthy for a whole season. Number 3 prospect is a pair of Rockies teammates and right-handed pitcher Chase Dollander, the number 1 prospect in the Rockies organization, and the number 8 prospect in the Rockies organization, outfielder Zach Veen. Both of these guys did compete for spots on the opening day roster, and neither of them made it. But I believe they will both be up at some point this year. My number 2 prospect is Diamondback shortstop prospect Jordan Lawler. And yes, I know what people are going to say. Oh, why is Jordan Lawler number 2 and not number 1? Because there's somebody else that's number 1. And I'll get to him in a minute. Little teaser. But Jordan Lawler was another guy that he was one of the last guys cut from the roster for spring training for the sit down to minor league camp from the Diamondbacks. And my number 1 prospect. And this guy hit a ridiculous 525 in the spring. Royals first base prospect, former Florida Gator, Jack Caglione. Number 1 prospect in the Royals organization. And I don't understand why the Royals sent him to AAA. I don't understand why Kansas City sent him back to the minors. That didn't make any sense to me. Now we get to the final part of the show, and that is my second half of my top 5 breakout candidates for 2025. My number 5 breakout candidate is a guy that was a Dodger for a long time. Now he gets out of LA and he's with the Reds, and he's going to get a lot of playing time. Gavin Lux, third baseman. Sounds like he's going to be the third baseman for the Reds. I expect a huge year from Gavin Lux. Number 4 breakout candidate is second baseman for the Twins, Edward Julian. He did make it sounds like he's going to make the opening day roster for the Twins. And I'm expecting a huge season from one Edouard Julien. My number 3 breakout player for 2025 is Giants outfielder Elliot Ramos. And yes, Elliot Ramos had a good rookie year last year. Can he build off of that in 2025? Number 2 is Rays first baseman Johnny Finn Aranda. Aranda had a really good spring. Not as good as the guy that I could have put on this list, Curtis Mead. But I believe Aranda and Mead are going to have breakout years. And my number 1 breakout candidate is A's shortstop Jacob Wilson. He played 1 game last year, got a base hit, and it blew out his hamstring, and we didn't see him after that. I think he's going to have a breakout season this year. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up the show. Just a heads up, I will have another baseball podcast over on TikTok tonight around, give or take 9:30, 10 o'clock. I will see everybody there. The TikTok is Alec Sports 2025. Catch y'all there at 9:30 or 10 o'clock for a baseball banter podcast episode.